Well, welcome and thank you for tuning in. I'm Scott Sturgeon. I'm in the practice management group here at Mariner Wealth Advisors, and I have the privilege today of having our guest, Krista Spencer, Senior Vice President of Marketing for Mariner Wealth Advisors as well, here to talk a little bit about their group, kind of what are the kind of strategic initiatives they're working on, and really for wealth teams and for client-facing individuals, what are the types of things they need to be aware of and mindful of when they're working within a marketing department. So Krista, thank you for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, just in general, Krista, kind of to start things off, could you give us a little overview about your group? Kind of who are the team members? What's your day-to-day like?
Sure. There are 12 of us in the marketing department. That's including myself. There are 2 marketing managers, Ross and Josh. They are each assigned to a location. So if you're at a location, they would be your marketing manager. And their job is really to help facilitate getting the projects done that you need. They pull in the team members, maybe it's a designer or an editor, to get everything done and make sure it fits our brand standards. We also have a digital team comprised of 3 people, and that includes our digital manager, and then we have a social media specialist, and they take care of all of our social media, anything email related, all of our websites, pretty much anything digital falls within that group. Then we have a creative team of 4 people managed by Damon, and then 3 designers. So they touch pretty much everything that gets put out through marketing. So videos, collateral, all of that, they all have a hand in that. And then lastly, we have kind of a mini writer compliance department that has 2 people in it.
So a big team, to say the least, but really touching on really any aspects of whether it's client-facing documentation or really any content that's generated, even internally, some of the stuff we disseminate is handled by the marketing team.
Yeah, I think pretty much everything that looks good is touched by the marketing department. Even the internal materials for HR, things like the internal websites, even videos, events is a big one that most people don't think about that marketing would play a part in, but we do. It might just be for the invitation, or it might be facilitating the whole event. So I would say even, decorating the offices. We have some of Damon's artwork is in some of our locations now. So we get to do a lot of fun projects and touch a lot of people.
Keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
Sure. So Krista, we generally have a series of kind of questions I've put together. We'll kind of talk through those a little bit. A lot of these have originated from even prior Mariner weeks that we've held. So I guess the leadoff question I have for you is, what are some of the most common questions you get from whether it's advisors or really kind of any client-facing associates of the firm?
Sure, yeah. I wrote them down because there's quite a few. I think there's about 5 that I think are fairly common. The first one is, what if I want to initiate a marketing project? What do I do? So in that case, if you wanted to initiate a marketing project, you would go through your marketing manager, or you could email our department at marketing@marinerwealth.com or marketing@marinerwealthadvisors.com. Both work. And then work with your marketing manager to get that project, going. I would say before you do that, you should think through, is this something that would impact the greater company that the company could use versus just me? Is there a cost associated? If there is, then you should get your managing director's approval on it first, and then really just know the problem you're trying to solve. So instead of coming to us with, hey, I want you to produce this, come to us with, here's the problem I'm trying to solve, or here's what I need help with, and then let us come up with the strategy behind that. So that's the first question. And then the second one is, how do I add someone to our monthly newsletter? We send that out the second Thursday of every month, and it goes out right now to about 23,000 people. And I think a lot of people find it very valuable. So if you're in Salesforce, you have to opt them in to the newsletter campaign. And if you need help doing that, I would tell you to reach out to Kathleen Murray, and she can take you through the steps of how to do that. If you are not in Salesforce yet, then we get a monthly Excel spreadsheet from your office, and we can tell you who to work with in your office to get the names added. We also get asked a lot where to order business cards and Mariner swag. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later when we look at the advisor toolkit, because I think you'll see that that's really a one-stop shop for all of that information. And same with where do I go to find content about a certain topic? Again, I'm going to point you back to the advisor toolkit, which we'll look at in a little bit.
Great. All excellent questions. Thank you very much for astutely answering all of them.
Yeah.
Second question I think is really relevant, Chris, to the marketing group is what kinds of resources do you have available that you really encourage advisors or client-facing personnel or anyone on the wealth teams to utilize?
Yeah, so you're going to hear some reoccurring themes from me. The first of is the advisor toolkit. So we are going to do a little tutorial on that at the end, but you will see that this website that we've created for you is really just a one-stop shop. So it makes it easy to find any information you may need when meeting with a client or a prospect. Or if you're on the RPP side, meeting with Schwab, Fidelity, or one of their clients. So it contains everything from white papers to articles to videos. We arrange them in topic base versus type. The prospect deck is on there. Also, all the events you can have are on there. And then you can also click from there to order your business cards or order stationery or order swag. And there's a bunch of information on there even about the client experience. So it really has become just that one place that you can go to find all that information. Kind
of a one-stop shop, making it easy, centralized. A lot of those documents revert to Box, making it really searchable, pretty user-friendly, and that sort of thing, which is really great.
Yeah, and I would say if there's one website to favorite, that is definitely the one. The other thing I would say, again, a reoccurring topic is opting in your clients, prospects, and COIs to the newsletter. We work really hard on coming up with topics that we think are appealing to all different types of people, right? So the first article may not appeal to your client, but the second one might. So we use a wide variety of topics. And I think that people love the commentaries. They love hearing Jeff's version and Bill's version and kind of having the two different looks at things. And when clients don't get it, they email us. And a lot of times they did get it and they opened it and they didn't realize it. But it really has become a valuable resource. And there's no better way to stay in touch or in front of your clients and prospects.
That's cool. I think you maybe mentioned it earlier too, the podcast is typically linked within that newsletter, so the client has pretty easy access to downloading that.
Yeah, and the podcast would be the last thing I would mention. Again, just a variety of topics, not all of them wealth related, which I think makes it have a broader appeal to just that mass audience. So somebody can always find something they like on there, and just to encourage your friends and your coworkers and your clients and prospects to download it and listen to it. It's a great resource, and it's pretty interesting and entertaining to listen to.
It is. I agree. As a follower and subscriber, I can attest.
We can say that because we don't host it or
anything. This is true. Well, Krista, thank you so much. I think actually this is probably a good time to kind of segue. You've talked about it quite a bit, but the advisor toolkit itself, would it be all right if we took maybe 5 or 6 minutes, took a kind of a spin through that, maybe highlighting some points of things that you think are more relevant for advisors to be noting it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Great.
All right, so we are starting from the single sign-on page that IT has set up. Your screen may look different. So you would click on this box, org-wide links, and then you'll click on the box that says Advisor Toolkit. And then this is actually the Advisor Toolkit website. So I'm going to walk you through what you can find on here and how it will help you. So this top portion right here is a way that we let you know what has been developed each month. So we don't expect you to stay on top of the new content that we're writing and different things that we have available for you. So what we do is we put it up here so that you know right when you come to the site, oh, look, there's a new podcast or there's a new commentary, and you can easily click on it and be taken right to it if you want to read it. When you scroll down, the next section will link you to the podcast. So if you have an Apple phone or an iPhone, or an Android, you can click on the respective buttons and it will take you, in this case, to iTunes. and it will show you all of the episodes and allow you to subscribe. The podcast is also available on the Mariner Wealth Advisors website, so you can do the same thing through that page as well. This next section is what I think is probably the most popular section on the Advisor Toolkit, and this is where all of our collateral lives. And you can see here we've divided it up by topic, which makes it really easy for you to find materials that may help you with a client or prospect meeting. So we don't expect you to know everything we have for estate planning, as an example. But let's say you're having a meeting and you think, wow, my client has mentioned estate planning. I should maybe bring something to the meeting that I can go over with them. So if you click on the estate planning box, it'll take you into Box and you can see all of the materials that we have available. And we try to name them to the point where you know what they are without having to open each one and look at it. But you can open it here, look at it. You can download it, you can print it. Maybe you just want to look at it to get the information in your head, but it's a good learning tool as well. So you can see we have a lot of topics here. If you can think of one that maybe is missing or, maybe a better way that you think would be more intuitive, we'd love to hear them, and we can always make changes on this. Below that section is collateral by type. This is where you go if you know what you're looking for. So let's say you want to look at your bio, or you want to include your bio in a presentation you're doing at a client meeting. If you click bios, as an example, you will go into Box, and all of the bios are divided up by location. So I'm in Chicago, I click on Chicago, and I can see all of the names of the people we have bios developed for. You can, again, open these, download them, print them. You can download them and then insert them also into presentations. I think bios is probably the one that gets utilized the most because it's something that we use a lot in our meetings. Other things you can find down here are digital letterhead. So we have digital letterhead for all of our office locations, fact sheets, the investment team, they update those on a quarterly basis. Information on the social media. We have a lot of infographics we've done, so you can find those here. The investment team library, you can click to that from this section, and this is where they keep all of their information that can be used by advisors. Presentations is another folder that I think gets visited a lot. This is where our prospect deck lives, and the one piece of advice I would give you about anything that you're pulling off of the Advisor Toolkit is that we update things quite frequently. As you know, the company is continually changing with new offices and acquisitions and things like that. So we're always updating maps or new awards we've won. So it's very important that you always come and pull any collateral from the Advisor Toolkit each time you're using it. Or if you're in the habit of saving it to your desktop, you're going to be using something that's out of date. The prospect deck is a great example of that. So in this folder are all of the decks that we have created that are, at the time, approved by compliance. So again, these change and we might pull them as they become out of compliance. There's internal templates in here as well, and external. And then here's like the MWA prospect deck. So you would click on it, and then you're going to download it. And then once you download it, you can take out the pages you don't want to use and create your own deck. I also want to say that at the end of this deck is a link to all of the bios as well. So you can add in bios directly from the deck.
Krista, I will say from a practice management perspective, we get a lot of requests from advisors on different content and materials. That prospect deck, credit where credit's due, the marketing team did a really good job of really providing a comprehensive view of all the different offerings and services within the firm. I think it's a great resource.
Thanks. Other things I think that get used a lot on here is welcome packets. So as you sign on a new client and you welcome them into the firm, there's documents in here of how they set up their account with Fidelity and eMoney, and just little informational, like kind of step-by-step how you do that. And we're also working on one right now for Schwab. So that'll be complete here soon. And then your signature block. So if you're newer to the firm and you want to make sure your signature block is set up the right way, I encourage you to go look at that as well. Then moving on, down below all of the content, we have Event in a Box. This is a great way if you are in business development or maybe an advisor who wants to have events for your existing clients and have them bring a prospect with them. This is a great way to really just get an event done quickly with material that's already been approved and vetted. And the great thing about all of these events is that we know they've been done and we know they work, and that's why we've put them in here. So we've worked with practice management to develop all of these, and there's quite a few to choose from on the traditional side. And then you can click over to RPP if that's your line of business, and we have some for that as well.
Several of the RPP presentations have actually been generated and approved specifically by the CFP board for continuing educational credit. So if you, for example, go into a Schwab or Fidelity office, you're meeting with FCs that work there. If they have a CFP designation and this presentation is given, you can offer credit to those attendees. It's just a nice perk that we put together working with marketing and actually the RPP group to generate these presentations.
Yeah, and you'll see those are under the audience for FCs. And so when you click into it, it will tell you this one has been approved, and it'll have instructions on how you go about making sure they get credit for that. The nice thing about these events is if you click on them, it tells you more about, what the presentation is actually about. It gives you suggestions for speakers, how much time to allot for the event. You can actually see the creative that is already produced. So like for the invites. And then if you scroll down, you can see the presentation. So maybe you don't want to do a huge event, so you're not going to use a pop-up banner or printed invitations, but maybe you want to see what the presentation is before you decide to have an event. You can download it here and look at it prior to deciding that that's the event for you. And we make it really easy. So if you decide you want to have an event, you just hit the request event button, and there's a form to fill out that you email the marketing, and then we will help you get it all facilitated. Beyond that, the next link is for the business card portal. So this name is a little bit deceiving because you might think, well, I've already ordered my business cards. I don't need to go to the site. But really, there's a bunch more on here than just your business card. If you come to the site and you hit Start New Order, you will see that the first thing that comes up are holiday cards. So right now we have Thanksgiving cards on there that each location can order or each advisor could order. We have birthday cards that you can order and send to your clients or prospects. So if you click on the brochure link, you will see there's a couple of options in here. The first one is the Why We Are Different brochure. And the great thing about this brochure that you see here on the right is that it is customized by your location. So when you order it, it's going to ask you in a drop-down menu for your location. And based on what you pick, it will put a different picture in there that represents your area. So everyone is unique to the area. And then we have that same brochure for RPP. And then obviously it is called the business card portal. So you can order your business cards from here as well. And there are a couple options based on if you're in more than one location. And then envelopes can be ordered as well as letterhead. And then we have panel cards. So if you like to write notes to your clients, you have a couple options of those. And then also note cards as well. And then what we have next to that is the estate planning network. And Scott, I'm going to let you explain a little bit about what this is.
Yeah, sure. So the estate planning network was essentially set up for our advisors. Obviously, we have a national reach now with locations across the country. And so to meet the demands of our clients looking for estate planning attorneys in different locations, we've built out essentially this estate planning attorney network with advisors who have utilized different attorneys in different states before, have had a positive experience with those attorneys. And so we've provided them as a reference here. Some of the attorneys, I will note, have preferred pricing for clients of Mariner Wealth Advisors. That's not constant across the firm, but certainly a nice perk to be added depending on the location that you're in. So certainly worth a look. We get questions from advisors in San Diego looking for attorneys in Texas. This is a great resource, a great place to look or at least to start looking for a good reference on that.
And next to the estate planning network is the company store. This is where we sell logo wear and other items you may want to order for your office. I will say if you're ordering something large for an event and you're ordering many pieces or you need something that's not on here, you should go through your marketing manager. But these are items that are used quite a bit. And so we've stocked them in some cases. Other cases, they have to be ordered for the location. So I'm going to go under stock marketing items, and you can see these are the things we have right now that you can order. And if you click on them, like this Uniball roller grip pen, and do view details, you'll see we have 2015 in inventory. You have to order them in groups of 50 or more. And so when you do that, then it will give you a cost. And then when you submit your order, you do have to pay. So this is everything that's in stock. And then we also have custom marketing items. And these are items that have been popular for events in the past or for parties and things like that. So if you want to order large amounts of these, I suggest you go through the marketing manager because they can get you a better deal than what's on here. But maybe you just want one of these for yourself and you can order them that way as well. And then there is an apparel section. So you can order a foundation shirt. We have 2 to choose from. This one right here is on sale right now. Just a little plug in case you want to order it. And then lots of different clothing items. We change these out periodically based on the season. If you work with the referral partner program, we have a section of the toolkit that is devoted to the resources for that. So it will take you into Box, and there is a folder for resources that you may use for panel events or just different types of conversations. We also have items that are split between Schwab and Fidelity because you can use some things for one and not for the other. And then this is like what Scott mentioned earlier, the CFP continuing education program for the FCs. Lastly, we have links to the concierge pages. So right now, this isn't something that we have for all locations. It's been they've been completed as locations have asked for them. But this is a great resource if you have a client asking you for specific recommendations. So say, for an example, you have a client who's going through a divorce and they're talking to you and they're mentioning that to you. And maybe the wife doesn't know who, she should utilize as an attorney. And because you're a trusted resource, they're coming to you for a recommendation. So you can go here to the Overland Park Concierge. You can click on attorneys, and then you can see there is family law. And so you could click on that, and you can see Fritz Edmonds was recommended. This one doesn't have it, but in some cases, in most cases, actually, they say who they were recommended by. So if you had a question about Jay and wanted to know more about him, you could go talk to Bruce Cussman, and he's going to tell you more about Jay and why he recommended them. Some of these people may offer special deals for our clients. So for example, I click on Aristocrat Motors, and you can see they have this gold key program. And it talks about how, as a Mariner Wealth Advisor client, you're entitled to receive a gold key and what that means. So they do have special benefits for our client.
That's really great, Krista. Thanks for sharing.
And then lastly, I just want to mention a few things up here under advisor resources. This is really the advisor resources and business development are 2 areas that have really been built out by practice management. A lot of this is repeat information, just another way to get to the attorney network or the business card portal. But there are a few things on here that I think are good to note. And I'm going to let Scott talk a little bit about these, but let's start with the advisor niche.
Sure. So the advisor niche page was essentially built out through a partnership with the marketing team. We surveyed a lot of the different advisors across the firm, looking for maybe certain areas of their practice that they've kind of developed as a specialty and deposited that information here within the page. So for example, if you're encountering a client who maybe is a high up executive at a company, is looking for ways to manage their compensation plan, or maybe they're in the midst of negotiating their compensation plan, you can look up within the niche page and find different advisors who have prior experience with those types of clients. And really, I think that the niche page in general just speaks to the larger overall strategy of Mariner, or really the structure of Mariner, which is to be really collaborative between offices and between advisors, really sharing knowledge and really for the betterment of the firm overall. So the next page I'll really point out as being important is the client experience page. This was built out essentially by practice management to provide advisors an overview of the process from day one of meeting a client or a prospect all the way to ongoing, what does that engagement look like? What are some continuous value adds that we can provide? And kind of offering a framework for how that relationship might go with some major milestones listed here as well. So, for example, there's lots of overview on different prospecting approaches, different discovery methods for finding out more about your client, questions to ask prospects. Continuing down the page, once the client's onboarded, value you can add to the relationship, things like estate planning reviews or even a sample agenda for a meeting with a client. So all of this put together with the hope that advisors and client-facing personnel will utilize some of these tools to really make it easier to meet with clients, to foster those positive relationships, and to relieve some of the burden of putting together materials and things like that. So certainly worth a look.
I think the great thing about this is I heard somebody say last week that we don't expect an advisor to follow this to a T, right? That's not who we are. We're not a cookie cutter firm where you walk into every location and you get the exact same experience and the exact same spiel. We realize that meeting with a client or prospect is very customized and it's very personal. So these are the tools to help you in that relationship and in those meetings. But it's not meant to be everybody takes step 1 through 10. It's take the steps you need, or here's the information. We do think this is a best practice, but take what you need to help you in customizing that experience for your client or your prospect. And the other great thing about this is everything links right to the documents. So it's taking you through the steps and then you can just click on it and go right to what you need.
The more forms we find, the better. And really, the goal is just to make it easier for you at the end of the day. One of the additional pages I'll point out, Krista mentioned it earlier, that the investment management group has specific documents for kind of their strategies and things like that. They actually recently released the investment management group page, which is a landing page that I think Whitney Reagan is going to get into a little bit during her time and her presenting, but this is also a great resource to find out more information as it pertains to investments within the firm. The next one I'll point out as being a good resource to have is the Mariner Academy. We partner with a group called Green Consulting to essentially offer online courses that are CFP credit approved for a variety of different topics. So let's say you meet with a client, you maybe encounter an issue that you're not entirely familiar with as it pertains to educational planning. The Mariner Academy is going to have a variety of different topics that you can go online, take courses in to really educate yourself on what specifically you need to know for that client. Note that these courses do cost the firm. So if you're going to pursue some sort of educational program through Mariner Academy, make sure that you start and complete it. Certainly, we value educating our advisors to offer the best advice possible, but at the same time, when there is an outside cost involved, we want to make sure we're getting our money's worth overall. The final page, I'll point out that we've just recently linked within the toolkit, and I'll note that Tom Tilley is going to get into this a little bit during his presentation for Mariner Capital Advisors, but this is just a link directly to their page for ease of access for advisory teams to access information on Mariner Capital Advisors, kind of an overview on who they are, what they do. Again, Tom Tilley will get into this more during his presentation, but this is just a quick way to access that information. So one of the final links, Krista mentioned it briefly a second ago, but the business development team has built out a pretty robust site for the referral partner program. Similar to the client experience page, this really walks the RPP personnel through kind of what the relationship or what the process is for meeting with clients, for onboarding clients, and that sort of thing. If you're working in the RPP program, I couldn't recommend enough taking a moment to look through this page and provide some overview and kind of to get a generalized idea of what our approach is when we're bringing on Schwab or Fidelity clients. And really the final point I would bring or side I would mention is the traditional business development page as well. They've done a really good job of building this out, kind of providing, again, a kind of a process, how things work from early on in meeting with prospect clients to building centers of influence relationships, creating pipelines to bring in additional business. To even one important point I would make, kind of talking about what is that handoff between the business development individuals and the senior wealth advisor look like. Nonetheless, this page is really worth a look if you're in the traditional field. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Krista for just some final parting thoughts.
Yeah. So that is the advisor toolkit in a nutshell. And I would say if you have any questions regarding the information on this, you can reach out to myself or Ross McKenzie or Josh Owens. One of the three of us can definitely help you with what's on here. Maybe you're looking for something and still having trouble finding it. We have a good lay of the land on that as well. But if you're new, I would say the best thing you can do is just spend some time clicking through everything on here and getting a really good feel for what is available to you. I would say pretty much 99% of what we have is located within this toolkit somewhere.
Krista, thank you so much. The Advisor Toolkit, certainly there's so many resources available to advisors and associates of the firm. Plenty of things to click through. And I think maybe I'll just speak for you for a moment in saying we can't encourage enough really for associates to take the time to kind of search through that, maybe find some resources that really speaks to them or they think is going to be helpful for interacting with clients and prospects.
Yeah. And we're always looking to make things better. So if you see that something is missing, or you see that there's a topic we're missing in the content, please let us know. And we can either work with you if you have advanced knowledge in that topic, or we will write it ourselves or add it. But we always want it to be the best site for the advisors and the business development officers to utilize. So we're always open for suggestions, and we actually appreciate the feedback.
Krista, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us. And you mentioned it before, just one more time, what's a great way to reach out to your group?
Sure. It's marketing at marinerwealthadvisors.com, or you can do marketing at marinerwealth.com. Both work.
Krista, thanks so much.
You're welcome.